So now that you've entered the materials process, you're going to be selecting both the material type, the thickness, and the type of tip that you have installed in your oxyacetylene attachment. As I mentioned in a previous video, we are going to expand our capabilities to plasma attachments, welding, which means we're going to have the option to cut a bunch of different materials, but for now, with the oxyacetylene attachment, you're only going to be able to cut steel. So the default material is going to be steel. You're just going to select the drop down, make sure that it's selected to steel, then you select your tip. Right now, we have a double aught installed on the machine, so we're going to stay at a double aught. If you want to install any other torch tip, this torch is a 6290 Harris style torch. Any compatible torch tip, you can simply take off the nut here and install any other torch tip that can cut up to 6 inches thick of steel. Once you have your tip selected, you're going to select the steel thickness. So right here, I have 1/8 of an inch thick steel. If you need to, measure with calipers, make sure that you're putting in the right steel thickness. And that's going to give you a whole set of default cutting parameters. If you would like to change these parameters, you're just going to want to select Edit in the UI and use the buttons on the left and right of each parameter to adjust what the cut height is all the way down through preheat time. I'm going to explain each one of these real quick. So cut height is going to be the height at which your torch is going to be cutting along your pattern in your design process. So this is when the oxygen jet is going through the nozzle and you're going to be cutting that torch. So the height off of your material. The cut feed rate is going to be in inches per minute how fast your torch tip is moving. And so this is going to be the measurement of basically the arc length of your cut, how fast your torch is moving in a straight line speed around your steel. Then pierce delay is going to be how long between the time you select pierce to it actually engaging the oxygen cutting jet. Finally, pierce height, that's going to be in inches, and then that is going to be how high you're going to start your pierce. So you're going to have the preheat, your material is going to be going and getting red hot, and when you click pierce, that's the height at which it's going to pierce at. The kerf width is simply the width of the cutout that your torch is going to make. So if you make a straight line and you end up having a hole that's 0.1 inches wide, that's going to be your kerf width. It's basically the size of the tool, and that kerf width is calculated into the design cutting. So make sure that if you want a 3-inch circle and you want to cut on the outside, so you have a 3-inch cut, you're going to want the kerf width to offset the torch so that you're making sure that your end result accounts for the width of the torch cutting itself. And finally, the preheat time is just the maximum amount of time until this thing realizes that there's no chance that it's going to get preheated and it's going to automatically cut off the cutting jet. So at that point, you can select and edit your parameters. If they're good the way they are in the default, you can just click OK, confirm, and now you're ready to move on to the run process.